Hi, everybody. It's Erica Robinson from In the Company of Cars with another Sunday conversation. So, welcome back. If you've been here before, welcome to all my new subscribers. Thrilled to have you here. And today's guest, I'm so glad that she came on, is a Canadian. Imagine, there's still some of them still talk to us. And this is my friend Shelley Carter, who lives in Elora, Canada, and it's in Ontario. And I will say I have been there several times as a guest in Shelley's home. And I will put all of her information in, as they say, the show notes. I always feel like such a big shot when they say, so that you can contact her. But Shelley is the coordinator of the Elora Tarot, which is a beautiful deck. It's sort of a brainchild of you, but it's a conglomeration of a lot of artists who each did a
65.
65
65
artists,
artists. Yeah.
right, who each did a card, and it's a beautiful, beautiful deck. So if you're looking for a new deck to add to your collection, that's a great one. Um, Shelley identifies as a witch. Would you say you are? What kind of witch would you say you are?
Well, that is a very good question because that's one of the things that people like to identify right at the beginning. I would say eclectic would cover it,
Okay.
but mostly solitary, actually. Most of my practice is on my own, but I'm also a community witch. We have like a meet and greet weekly in my village and talk about all things witchy. And I've done
I have
some
heard her called,
magic salons.
well,
So
yes, I have heard you called the Queen of Elora, and it makes a lot of sense. She's a great gatherer together of people. She's a retired psychotherapist, so that's convenient for me, I must say, in these times.
it helps. Yeah.
So Shelley started with playing card divination, which she learned from her grandmother. She's been reading tarot for about 30 years. Um, and again, lives in this beautiful, magical village full of people who are open to alternative spirituality. As I said, been there many times. The people are wonderful. Shelley is wonderful. And so I've brought her here to meet all of you. Now, here's a little backstory. So we've known each other about maybe 5, 6, 7 years. And so Shelley helped me out of a big bind, I'll call it, when I was back living in New Jersey. Now, back then, and I've been out of New Jersey for maybe 3 years now, but back then, I knew that I had overstayed my time there. It represented another life, where I was married and raising children and had a teaching career, etc. And, everything had sort of fallen away, right? Children had left and grown and gone. And I retired from the job. My husband had passed away, well, years and years earlier. And I was living in a house that was perfectly okay, but I didn't want to be in the house. I didn't want to be in the town. I didn't want to be in the state, but had no idea where I was going or what I was going to do. All of that became clear later on, which has led me to sunny San Diego. But anyway, this was during that time when I just really couldn't figure out what to do. And my house was in a neighborhood that was really a desirable one in certain suburb in New Jersey. And there there was a lot of demand. People were always asking me, if I wanted to sell. And I mean, that would be fine to sell, but then go where? So I would always say no. Well, next door to me was a real estate agent who was interested, I know, in my property, and she had teenage boys. This is who I think did the thing, Shelley.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was a hot day. I was in my cold, nice air-conditioned house, and I thought, oh, you know what? Such a beautiful day. Let me go out into the warm sunshine and take a walk. I opened my door. It was July. I opened my door, and there's something on my front stoop. And it was a fish dead, obviously. I swear it was about, did I send you the picture of that fish, Shelley? Did you see it?
No, no.
The first thing I did, I cried
Oh,
and then
yeah.
I took a picture and then had to get like a snow shovel to shovel it in a couple of garbage bags and get rid of it. But anyway, it was like this big.
Yeah.
And all I could think of, I'm just not to stereotype, but I did live on the Jersey Shore. So if any of you are familiar with the name Jersey Shore, it's from a series that was done. It was like a reality TV series. And the Jersey Shore is very well, uh mm, I mean, I don't want to cast any aspersions, but when you think of The Sopranos, let's just put it like that. When you think of the series The Sopranos, that's the Jersey Shore. Okay.
Oh,
So all I could think of is this is like the horse's head in the person's bed from The Godfather. This is
mhm.
a message to me.
A
So
warning.
yeah, it was a warning. So I took the picture. First, like I said, first I cried because it was just, and then I took the picture of it and then I put it in a trash bag and threw it out. And then my town had a community page, a Facebook community page. So I went on the page and I'm like, this was just left on my doorstep. What is up? And people said things like, birds dropped it there. Well, first of all, it would have to have been a bird from the prehistoric era. And maybe it would have taken three of them to deliver intact, right, unnibbled on this
Yeah.
enormous dead fish. So, pretty sure that's not what it was.
Mhm.
Other people opined that it was a raccoon. I mean, I am not used to raccoons or birds for that matter leaving big. It was a person. I'm just going to say it was a person.
Yeah.
I
Obviously.
I was terrified.
Yeah.
My neighborhood over the years, there used to be when we first moved in, it was considered the black section of town because when you went to buy houses, the realtors would steer you if you were black towards that area. So we were like, okay, that's where you're going to sell us the house. That's where we lived. But over the years, the area got gentrified and there were fewer and fewer of us and the houses got bigger and fancier and all of that and they wanted my house, so I told Shelley, and Shelley, among her many gifts and what she's going to talk to us about today, is an amazing creator of altars.
Thank you. Thanks.
And, some of you, if you're all churched out, you may think, well, isn't that where the priest does the do? Yeah, it is. That's true. But that's not all an altar is. So, Shelley created this gorgeous altar, and I have to say, she sent me the pictures of it. I knew what was on it. I knew why those things were on it, and you can talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say, I mean, seriously, immediately, as soon as I received that, the energy completely shifted for me. I didn't feel afraid. I didn't feel threatened. And I lived in that house, another couple of years, I think, until I eventually moved to San Diego. But she definitely, this altar cleared the energy, removed whatever it was there that didn't need to be there, that was threatening to me, and made my space livable again. So can you tell
I'm
us
so
about that?
glad.
What
Yeah.
is an altar? That's the first question.
So I just think of an altar as a space that you create where you're basically saying something special is going to happen here. So circles, because women often meet in circles. So I do mine on a tray generally, sometimes a plate. I have a round table that I use. Um, and I will usually indicate the directions on it. And sometimes there's an altar cloth. Sometimes I cleanse it with an incense to start. But it's basically where I do my work. And I would say that it's my main expression of my solitary witchery.
Mhm.
I often do altars when I feel helpless. So in the circumstance of hearing about this horrible thing that happened to you, what what else can I do?
Right. You're
I'm
all the
going
way
to
up in
create,
Canada. Yep.
yes, yeah. So I'm going to create this altar for your protection, safety, for justice to prevail. So just to make me feel better and to make you feel better, really. So I usually try and include crystals and sometimes herbs, candles, sigils, tarot cards, Lenormand cards, because I was doing this one for you and that was your area. Plants. So this one had, I would say the main feature of it was Shirley Chisholm
Mhm.
as the Justice card. I found a tarot card with her being featured on the Justice card. So how perfect is that?
Right.
So I
For
had
those
her.
who don't know, Shirley Chisholm was a New York politician who actually is the first Black woman to have run for president. And this is back in the day, what the
Yeah, in the 70s, I think.
70s, yeah.
Yeah. And also very big on women's rights, very big on Black rights. So she was the perfect person to feature here. Um, a couple of sigils, and I usually get these. You can create your own, of course, but I usually get some online. There's a woman called Naria Noir who creates beautiful ones in sort of watercolor type images, and another person, Laura Tempest Zakroff, who does beautiful sigils, and she puts them online and tells you how she created them and why.
Now, we
So,
learned a little bit about the sigil concept when I had John Hyatt on talking about runes.
oh,
Right.
cool,
You can
cool.
probably make sigils from runes as well, right?
Yes, bind runes. That's right. Yeah. And actually, I don't know if you remember, but with our friend Carrie,
Yes.
we talked about getting a tattoo, sharing a tattoo, and Laura Tempa-Zakroff actually designed that tattoo for us. We have
Yes.
yet to get it, but that could still come. So,
That could still happen.
but you're talking about runes too. That's another great thing about altars is you can introduce whatever you want. So, even trying to learn runes, and I noticed I did put a rune on yours, a protection rune.
Mhm.
Um, but in trying to learn them, putting things on an altar is a great way because you find the rune that represents the idea that you're trying to express, and then you can include that. So, yeah, protection rune, different crystals that are around protection, and one of my favorites, which is red jasper, because red jasper is protective, but it's also like a boomerang effect. So, whatever's been sent to you, red jasper bounces back to the
Mm.
sender. So I always think that that's a good one. If there's ill intent, better it should go to them
It
than
makes
you.
me think of The Color Purple, where Whoopi Goldberg plays this character Celie, and he's- she's leaving her very cruel husband, and he curses her, and she says, "Everything you've done to me, already been done to you."
Oh,
Same
perfect.
concept.
Yes, exactly. Well, that is red jasper and a crystal. So yeah, a really good one to have in your arsenal for sure.
Mhm. Mhm.
And there was some pink quartz as well, which is compassion and love and um, yeah, emotional healing as well goes with pink quartz. So yeah, after something like that happens, you want all of those things, right? Um, and for the Lenormand cards, I use the bear, which is like the boss and not to be messed with, and the mom, like kind of mom energy, that protective bear mother, and the garden as well, which is community, right?
Right.
So also, so I was learning Lenormand as well. So I'm looking up things that represent my ideas, right? And how I want to send out this protective thing to you.
Well, this is what's so cool about altars because I mean, I'm not the first person to say this, but physics will tell us that, thoughts become things. And so if you have a thought or an intention, and then it seems to me, if you create an altar, which is a representative of those thoughts, you're bringing whatever it is that you want to bring into the world. It's sort of like it feels like an intermediary step
Yes,
between the
it's
thought.
like heavy concentration
Mhm.
and fine tuning of the idea. So, I might start with a few ideas, and as I'm researching, pay closer and closer attention. Do I want like personal protection or protection from an illness or protection from an outsider? So you're fine tuning all the time. And so the intention becomes very precise. sometimes I'll build an altar over weeks
Right.
trying to
Right.
find the right thing.
Well, because
Yeah.
if the language of the universe is vibrational, then that makes all that much more sense. Why you would take a lot of time in really putting sort of blinders sort of
Yeah.
on the universe to say, no, don't look over there, don't look over there,
Yeah.
don't be
Just
different.
this.
This is what I want. This is what I'm
Yeah.
asking for. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also like to make them beautiful. That's the
Mhm.
artistic piece of me, I think. So I also spend a fair amount of attention on that. But you can bring to an altar whatever elements you want as long as they're expressing your ideas.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think yes, a very great way to fine tune an intention and send it to the universe, but in a very precise way.
Right. I love that. And again, like you said, it can be as simple or as complex as you want it to be. Like I'm a very simple person. So
Yeah.
what I mean, I always have a candle when I'm doing this work. So I have a candle lit now. And I had forgotten that I used to always read cards on a field. I like to use a black linen napkin.
Nice. Yeah.
As a field, that is where the sacred work is happening, right? It's just a sign to me, to the universe, to my sitter, that's where the work is happening. And I noticed that I just changed out a deck of cards, one of my decks for another of my decks, because I hadn't used the cloth and the cards got kind of beat up on the surface. So the cloth is good for that too. It sort of protects the cards, but just something even just simple like a black cloth is
Yeah.
it be an altar if you intend it.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's my focus.
Mhm,
That's
mhm.
that's what it says. I mean, often, when people are casting circles, they're thinking of it as, and I think in particular Wicca, they'll talk about keeping negative entities out and all that stuff. I don't know if I go that far with it, but I do very much say, here's the important work that I'm doing right now. It just helps me narrow my focus. So I do, yeah, I do
Well, you
really
may
enjoy.
be like me that way. Like I don't feel like I even need to give that kind of negativity any energy. It just knows, get behind me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because sometimes I don't know, if you call attention to it by saying, "Oh, let me put this here to keep that out,"
Yeah, you're calling attention
I'm
to it.
knocking on the door now. Yeah. So,
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree.
yeah.
And I think I'm more psychological in my approach and ex as a representation of my expression, not so much all the scary things that are out there. Even though for the altar I did for you was very much designed to protect you from negative influences. That's not my standard kind of approach to magical work. I don't
Right,
feel
right,
vulnerable that way
right,
generally.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that helps because that's the sort of the stance that you take just from the beginning.
Yeah.
The- yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
this is my work, not oh no, don't hurt, none of that. No.
Now you've done all really sort of interesting altars, like for people who, for example, are trying to lose weight.
Yes, yeah. I have done that for a couple of friends. And again, it's like just helping focus their thoughts and feelings about what they're doing. Um, One friend had bariatric surgery, so I just wanted to help kind of underline that for her. And it was a portable altar, and she said it was actually quite helpful to be able to take it around the house at
Mhm,
various points. She found it really helpful if she was struggling with, sticking to whatever eating plan there was. She'd go and spend a minute with her altar, maybe light the candle, that kind of thing. So,
mhm.
yeah, I, it's part of service magic.
Yeah.
It's sort of gaining a lot of attention now, mostly in Britain, but it's spreading. And I think this is a big role that a lot of witches and cunning folk, as they used to call us, and wise people, which they play now, which is to do some work on your behalf and to kind of help strengthen things that you're involved with and care for. So
Mhm.
this is the way that I care for my friends, people in my community. So I'll often do these supportive altars.
But
And again,
listen, you all, it's not just, I mean, uh, and it's beautiful work that you do on behalf of your friends. But
yeah,
if we want to cast the net wide, we are all friends. Trying to be anyway.
Yes, yes,
And so in these troubled times,
yeah,
altars can be used for larger things.
yes.
Well,
Yeah.
right?
So there's these lovely compassionate things that we can do. And there's also, um, yes, protective from sort of outside influences, banishing, stuff, bad things that are happening, and binding, which doesn't hurt the person who's the subject of your altar. But yes, well, there are those too, but I feel more comfortable with the
Okay,
binding just stops and contains them rather than
because you're a
killing
nice
them.
Canadian, that's why.
That's right. So I recently did an altar for so I'm a big bird feeder. I love the birds. We have a yard with lots of trees and lots of birds come, and I've been cultivating relationships with the crows for years, and I've got a bunch of blue jays that come and various
And the
cardinals and
crows
things.
bring you gifts, don't they?
Yes, they do. Yes,
Yeah.
they do. It's quite lovely. So that has been a big joy in my life ever since retirement as well. Um, And one of my neighbors got a new cat. And the cat is beautiful. It's a little black cat, very sweet, but it started eating the birds, right? The birds that I invite to the yard. It would like I saw it leap into one of the bird feeders one day and drag one out. I chased it and
Come
managed
for
to get it
dinner.
to.
Come for dinner. You're the dinner.
That's right. So yeah, so this was really tough and I really liked my neighbor. But this cat was just wrecking my wrecking my life because I it was really interfering with one of my big pleasures. So, and feral cats are often blamed for bird deaths, like lots of bird deaths. But this cat was just a predator. We have lots of cats that go through the yard, but this is the one that was really going after things.
A
And it kind
predator.
of,
Oh, that's an interesting word
isn't it?
that I've heard quite a bit lately. And
Yeah,
can I just say, I'm into metaphor and language and all this. This is all metaphor. I hope
yeah.
I don't have to break it down for anybody, but go on.
Yeah, I think it should become clearer as we go along.
Yes, we go
This
along.
cat like is invading my territory too, right?
Probably wants to make you part of its territory, perhaps.
Right. Yes. And show me who's boss
Yes,
in the
yes,
meantime. Yeah.
yes.
So I did a binding. I can show you what I did. So the cat that's coming into the yard is a black cat, and it has its little canine teeth kind of stick out.
Mhm.
So I found this is the cat from The Simpsons,
Oh,
and it has those same
those
teeth that
teeth.
stick
Yeah.
down. So this is to represent that neighbor's cat, and I bound it to try and stop it from coming in and eating the birds. I also spoke to its mother.
So wait, so you like sewed it into that?
Yeah, so I printed off a picture from the internet and then cut some little things here and used embroidery floss to just go over and over and try and stop it. You could also do this with straight bars to make it look like somebody was in jail, perhaps, something along those lines.
And what I think again is Canadian nice is that you left its tail free.
Free, yes.
Because the tail's not hurting anybody. It's the rest of the cat.
It's the teeth.
It's you. So
So,
so so you created that's a binding.
as a binding spell, really, a binding
Oh,
altar.
so did you like say anything? Did you in
So I generally activate it by lighting a candle.
okay.
Sometimes there's a song that's appropriate, or maybe just some deep breathing. But in this case, it was just lighting the candle. Yeah.
And
Uh,
what were the results of this?
well, also I spoke to the mother and said, please don't let the cat out until after about 10 o'clock because I feed the birds first thing in the morning. They're generally finished by 10 o'clock, the big activity. They come and go throughout the day, but they're just not such sitting ducks. So she cooperated by doing that as well, keeping the cat in. And so I haven't seen any carcasses around. There were a few that had been left as gifts for me or
Mhm.
previous to this. So far it's helping. I would say
And this
that.
has been for a while. I mean, you did that a while ago.
Yeah, in the summer.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
So
I'm telling you all, this works.
yeah.
Alter
And it
magic
can be
works.
adapted if people are giving you grief or, presidents, like anything like that. We can capture those same ideas.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And it's just taking a thought and giving it substance.
Yeah. And doing your research. I think correspondences are really important in any kind of magical work.
Mhm,
So looking up, protection stones.
mhm.
So black tourmaline.
Tourmaline. Yeah.
Sorry?
Tourmaline. That's what I was going to
Yeah,
say.
tourmaline. The red
Obsidian.
jasper again to bounce back the negativity.
Obsidian. Is that a good one?
Obsidian is a really good one. Hematite as well.
Mhm.
There's a fantastic there's a fantastic symbol that comes out of Nordic lore or culture. This is the Helm of Awe, they call it, and it's a protection against tyrannical beings or
Oh,
tyrannical leaders. So I got this when we were visiting Iceland, but I've pulled it out a few times. So
yeah.
that also,
You don't pull, keep it out. It needs to
yeah,
stay out. Wow. And it looks like a snowflake.
it does a bit. It's so this is kind of an artistic take on it. It's usually more symmetrical,
Mhm.
but I kind of like this. So yeah,
Yeah.
and it is very much like a snowflake. Yeah,
Tyrannical. Okay.
tyrannical leaders. Yeah,
Mhm.
and I also found. So this is from Joanna Powell Colbert's Gaian Tarot. It's the Devil card, but it's bindweed. So how perfect is that for a binding that you're doing
So
to talk
that
about?
person is tied up with that stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know if you're familiar with bindweed. It's a weed, obviously. It grows in the garden. It wraps itself around things and can choke out different flowers and plants. So here we are in the dead of winter. I don't have access to any of that at the right now. So I use the devil card instead,
Is
Joanna's
that the
devil card.
same thing as kudzu? Do you know what kudzu is?
No, I
Oh,
don't.
so kudzu is the first time I saw it, I was in Georgia. I mean, you can't kill it, and it strangles everything.
Oh, that sounds like this. Yeah.
So bindweed, kudzu, whatever
Yeah.
is local to you, I guess would
Things
work.
that strangle strangle out. So, but perfect as a devil card. I really
Absolutely.
love that. Yeah. Um, what else? I did a little pot of herbs
And
as
what
well.
herbs did you put in there?
So there's eucalyptus, sage, mugwort, cinnamon, cloves, black pepper, um, basil, and a bay leaf. And
Mhm.
on the bay leaf, you can write your intention as well, which
Oh,
is really great. Yeah. So,
I-
and I will say, if you have a bay leaf plant of your own, they're a lot easier to draw on when they're fresh
mhm.
than when they're dried. So I do have
They have
one.
more liquid inside them, so that.
Yeah. So it doesn't crumble or break as
Mhm.
you're
Mhm.
writing on it.
But
Yeah.
wait, what is can we
Yeah.
see what the mugwort looks like?
Mugwort. So it's broken up here. I don't know. Can you see that?
Yes, yes. So I
It's the
have
toppy stuff.
in my snake card in my Lenormand deck, I wanted that my artist to make it clear that while a snake is troublesome, problematic, there's another meaning for snake, and it's a clever woman. And people forget
Ah,
that. It's a historical meaning, it's traditional. I didn't make that up. So I said, if you have the snake slither through mugwort, that will remind people, oh, wait a minute, maybe it could be a clever woman we're talking about because mugwort is that healing feminine herb that's used in divination and for healing work. So I
yeah.
think it's great that that's in there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's fun to do the research, figure out that that's again, correspondences are so important, right? And yet, So it's not like everything is so incredibly prescribed that you have to only do it in this way. You have all the freedom that you want to select things that you want to use and leave things out if they don't resonate for you. Um, I'm also big on deities, including deities, not so much as something to worship,
Mhm.
but you're just channeling the energies of
Right.
those deities. So Ganesh, overcomer of obstacles. So I'll include Ganesh. Or in a circumstance where a friend might need some healing, Kuan Yin, who's the
Mhm.
goddess of compassion. So I'm not, yeah, it's not a worship thing, but it's channeling those energies. And I really love using multicultural deities as well. I've been gifted things. So from our Hindu friends, they gave me a big Ganesh statue, which sits in my kitchen, which is really handy for dinner parties.
Mhm. Mhm.
When I get nervous, it's good to have the overcomer of obstacles overseeing everything, right? Yeah.
Right, right.
So, yeah. So the sky's the limit on things that you can include. Um, I also recently
Oh,
have been including the Nazar the to
wow.
protect people from the evil eye because this has come under some difficulty in the Middle East, Turkey in particular. They're saying like this thing that's been given as gifts to newborn babies for millennia are no longer welcome. They're trying to get rid of them in the culture. And so
Is
this
that
is
a
a,
Christianization?
I think it's just to talk about like only the divine can do this and these are superstitious. I think that's the distinction that we're making. And that is a thing that comes with sort of right wing, right?
Yeah.
Often in fundamentalist stuff. So I've been making a point to try and include it
Hmm.
on my altar just to keep this alive in a way I can,
Hmm.
even when people there can't. So that's why I include that.
That makes me want to ask you a question. So
Sure.
I know that we didn't plan this, so if you don't want to answer, although, and nor did we plan what we were going to wear, but look at
No,
us.
synchronicity. Yeah.
So one of the things that I notice is that people who I would identify as magical people, um, witches, seers, diviners, all of that, are going underground relative to the public space like this, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
Um, because we know the history of what has happened to people who do this work that we do.
Yeah.
Have you found that sentiment going on in Canada, or is there any kind of buzz like that in Canada about being less public about the work that you do?
I think we're okay so far.
Hmm.
We have been talking about it
Hmm.
in the magical community, right? We have said like when the going gets tough, the tough start pointing fingers,
Right,
right? So it, and I've been a little more careful talking to you than I might have been
right,
a
exactly.
year ago, especially with information being shared now so freely and who's tapping into what.
Right.
So yeah, I'm conscious of it. It would, it's hard to imagine that it could ever go back to how things were, like witch burnings and things like that. But
I don't
if they
know.
don't like what,
They're burning books again.
yes, I know that's true. Yeah. And if they don't like what you're doing, they'll find something to pin it on, is sort of what I feel. So yeah, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm also 69. I feel like yeah, bring
Well,
it on.
that's
I've got a
my
few years. Yeah.
right.
Well,
That's my
yeah.
philosophy. My philosophy is I've lived my life, and I'm going to stay doing my work. They can certainly shut me down if that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
They can even cart me away somewhere. That's okay. I mean, I think, and this is just my philosophy. I mean, what's the point of having your life if your life's not going to be about something important? Like,
Yeah,
what
I
do you do?
agree.
Right. But I also know that just traditionally, it's not like we shout from the rafters that this is what we do. I mean, it's always been um, held sacred, held close, quiet
Mhm.
as it's kept,
Yeah.
that type of information. So that part's nothing new. It's just that I think that we have this big opening up in the sense of people really being curious about all of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like my thing with Lenormand is my goal with Lenormand was not to sell zillions of books and make a lot of money. My goal really was to let everybody know that you too have a higher self. You are as much part of, you know, whatever created us as I am. And we have these tools, these very sort of earthbound,
Yeah.
um,
And old, right? Also,
old, yes,
yes,
these
yes.
old, from the earth things like, you know, cards come from trees, right? They're
Yeah,
paper
yeah,
comes from trees that we can use to as intermediary um, instruments between us and the divine.
yeah.
And that really, technically, you don't really need anything, but because we're human and we like to see things and we like to, you know, I think altars are just such a good example of that, of actual tangible things, like things, um, to sort of make that bridge between here and there. I think there's a lot of curiosity about it. A lot. Oh, a ladybug just flew in and it's crying.
Ah,
I love ladybugs. Good luck.
nature.
Yeah,
Yes.
nature. And so I
Yeah.
think there's a lot, and I'll tell you, I think that's part of what the blowback is, because wait, if people realize how powerful they really are, particularly women, let me just say, who are
Yeah.
the givers of life, I'm just
Yes.
gonna say,
How magical is that?
how
Yeah.
magical is that? It's the ultimate magic.
Yeah.
Um, that that's threatening to churches,
Yeah.
to governments, to all kinds of things, right? So of course there's going to be that blowback. You know, I talk to people a lot of times about that cone of protection that Dion Fortune and people that she worked with raised over England to protect it from the Nazis. And I've often said, you know, I don't know, could that happen again in a bigger, broader way? I think that that was a pretty homogeneous community in a lot of ways, the ones who did the raising up, right?
Yes.
Uh,
Also from the upper classes, right?
yes,
There were a
exactly.
lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe we try it 2.0 style, where we say, okay, we don't all come from the same traditions and the same backgrounds and the same countries with the same languages, but we have the same intention.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
each in their way, do your work
Yeah.
to sort of raise this cone of protection over the world. And it's not just about politics, it's like Mother Earth.
Yes, I was going to say climate change. And that's another big, I think, reason that witchery has sort of gained some popularity is also that we're honoring the earth. We're being more aware of the cycles of the earth and what's harmful and what's helpful. And so, yeah, we're not sticking our head in the sand. We're looking
Yeah,
at what happens and what's important. Yeah.
right, right.
So,
And because you meet opposition or skepticism or um, you know, hostility, okay, well, people are entitled to think what they think, and
yes.
but it's not a reason to not do the work.
No, agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it, I think because we have a small community, although I will say there's a large, quite conservative religious group in Elora and surrounds, but there's been no grief so far. So
Mhm.
yeah, happy to say
Well, then
people.
you're allowing each other to live and let live, which is the
Yeah,
nice Canadian way.
if we could all do that,
Wouldn't
we
that
would
be
be
nice?
so much better off. Yeah.
Right, as opposed to planning the Riviera in Gaza. But anyway,
Or
it's
because I think this way, you have to
you
think
have to
this
think
way, or
this
because
way.
I behave this way, you have. No, we should all be able to just be ourselves and, yes,
Yes.
work
So
for the
now,
better.
so we've gone from the ills of the world, like fish and bird eating cats and Riviera planning
Yeah.
politicians. But we have a holiday coming up.
Yes, we do. And I'm going to try and hold this up because um, I was working on this for.
Ooh. Oh, it's
So this
beautiful.
is for, and it's multi-purpose. It's Valentines, Galentines, and self-love. So
Love it.
whatever piece uh, you would hope to celebrate, here's some examples of how you can do that. So I've tried to use pinks and reds. They're associated with that particular season. Rose petals, because that's romance. For to represent fire, I have chili peppers.
Smart.
For east, the pink feather, pink ostrich feather. For, oh, this is just this is a little spell jar bottle. Um, for west, there's a pink mangano calcite bowl. In the north, there's rhodonite, which is with for compassion, love, healing, emotional healing as well. And then different representations of the lovers cards, um, the Lenormand heart.
Mhm.
I've got crystals, little heart-shaped rose quartz and rhodonite, uh, pink candle, white candle with a pink heart on it, a sigil for radiating love. That's another Naria Noir one, and a rune, oh, Wunjo, which is joy.
Mhm.
What else is on there? Oh, and Saint Valentine, of course.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
So now, do you light that candle ever, or do you leave it
yeah,
unlit?
I'll light that on Valentine's Day.
Okay.
Yeah, so sometimes I'll do like a daily lighting of a candle for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is, and then
Well, that's what
replenish.
I was going to ask. So the creating of the altar itself is like a sacred act, like picking the things, deciding what you're going to put on there, actually
Yeah.
putting them together. But then that's what the next thing I was going to ask you is, okay, so you made it. So now what?
Yeah. So activating it.
Hmm.
That's yeah, and that varies a lot, but you can do all kinds of things. Some people dance to activate their altar or light candles is quite common. Um, and you can do here's a witch tip. If you don't want to stand there all day till the candle burns down, you could use a birthday candle. They burn down pretty
Yeah.
quickly. If you're like witch on the go, that's not a bad way to approach it. Playing music, ringing bells. What else?
Because all of those things are vibrational,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that's the language of the universe. I love that.
Yeah. And here's my sacred work. And here, like now I'm paying attention in this moment and setting the intentions or focusing my directions.
So
Yeah.
no, so it's not like a one and done thing. Like you did it and there it is.
Yeah, no, you can keep them going for years. It's a good idea to kind of replenish and clean
But
things
I
every now
mean,
and
no, I know you can keep it out for like a while, but I'm saying, like, do you on a weekly or a daily basis, sort of at the very least, I don't know, stop and look at it?
I'm quite conscious. Yeah, I'm quite conscious of my altar, and it sits in the middle of the living room, and I go past it probably 100 times a day.
Mhm.
So yeah, and sometimes I'll just go and add something to it, or yeah, light the candle, or have a little word.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's lots of different ways to kind of just be in touch with it through the day.
And you mentioned that you had made your friend a portable one. So what is that? How is it portable?
So there's a few different ways you can do that. I had this one on a tray. So hers was on a tray that
Mhm.
she kind of took with her from room to room. But you can also do spell bottles and spell jars. And actually this would be similar to that. So I've got all the herbs and crystals in there. I don't know if you can see it. There's
Yeah.
rose quartz and all these different herbs. And then there's Wunjo, that joy picture of a rune, and there's another lover's tarot card in there as well. So that's very portable, right? You
Mhm.
can just have
Right.
that with you hanging in a window or whatever you like. But spell jars, spell
You could
bottles.
take maybe like even an Altoids tin,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. And witches love their containers,
Yeah.
right? We look at everything with an eye to what could we do with that. So yeah, lots and lots. I don't know if you can see
Yeah.
the background. There's tons of containers here. So little jars and bottles and wooden receptacles, all kinds of things. Yes, we play with and fill them with all kinds of
That's
goodies.
terrific. No, you know
Yeah,
what?
it's great fun.
Any port in a storm, and I think this is a terrific port. Is there anything I haven't asked you about altars that you want to share?
I think, I would encourage people to make an altar. Start out as simple as you like and let it grow. Have fun with it. You can keep adapting it and adding things that you want, adding things you want to learn about. It's a great vehicle for your directing your intentions and for connecting with friends as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
have at
I know that I was so grateful for that altar that you made me. I mean, I might have been a little skeptical at first, like, what's that gonna? But but the proof is in the pudding, and it completely changed the energy in the best way.
I'm so glad. And that's totally the intention, right? And for me to make me feel like I'm at least doing something in a situation that I have very little control over. Yeah, so it worked for both of us.
No, it was beautiful. Now, as a Canadian, is there anything that you would like to share with your international audience here, many of whom are American and Canadian as well?
So, without sounding insulting, I would like to say that we are very happy being Canadians. We don't want to become American. We're enjoying our national health, our year-long maternity leave. Um,
Wait, year long? God.
yes, yeah, no, we have some fantastic benefits. Now we have dental support, dental care support, and it's and old age and disability and all kinds of things. So we're very happy being Canadians. We're kind of quiet about our pride, but we are certainly very proud. And I'll say also that we recognize that not every American feels the way that it is being said in the news and stuff. So we know we still love our American friends and wish you
You know,
well, even especially now.
I think I mentioned on YouTube that maybe it was yesterday. I don't know, but that the day after the election, I got on a plane and we came to you.
Yeah.
And it was so nice to be among friends who were so kind and so, okay, I'm not trying to make fun of anybody, but I never heard the word sorry so many times.
Yeah.
And I appreciated being there. It was hard to come home, I have to say. Um,
We called ourselves the emotional support
Emotional
Canadians.
support Canadians. Yes, absolutely. And you all do a good job of that. But you know what? Listen, everybody, don't confuse niceness for weakness.
Yeah, definitely not weak.
Mm,
Canadians really step up when we need to.
mhm,
Yeah, yeah, for
mhm.
sure. Apparently, some of the toughest fighters in Second World War were
We're
Canadians.
Canadians,
And
right?
we've stood by the American in different situations too, with the hostages. We organized for hostages to get out and be released, and we
No,
come
you
with
are our
fires
closest
and
neighbors, our best friends, and it's kind of, for those of us on the right side of things, it's like, I don't know, watching a bully in the playground punch our best friend. I mean,
yeah, it's so hard to understand
you want to
how
call a teacher, but who do you call?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, I think we were kind of looking to the rest of the world too, right? What can we do
Yeah.
if steps are made to make Canada a 51st state? What can we do? We don't have the same kind of military might or anything like that. But now I see, okay, now we might find some support around the world as well.
As you
Greenland,
as you should. And there are many of
Panama,
us
yeah,
down here who will not stand for that.
yeah, yeah. And we'll stand by you too.
Well, we appreciate it. I'm
Yeah.
so glad you came on, Shelley. And
Thanks. It was fun. I was
you know,
really nervous, but it's
no, no, it didn't show. It didn't show. And I think people really enjoy just seeing different ways that they can use magic in their lives, in their everyday lives, in ordinary and extraordinary circumstances, to just
yeah.
make things flow a little better.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And just to maybe channel something a little bit in the beyond, right? That we
exactly,
don't normally look at. So, yeah.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, just because we can't see it, it sees us.
Exactly.
Kids will do, they cover their eyes and then they think that they've become invisible. Yeah, that's what we tend to do. We think we're invisible, but we are held and guided and supported and loved by the universe. And I think sort of the creation of altars is a good way to remind ourselves of that connection
Yeah.
to
I agree.
source, to each other.
Yeah. I highly recommend it.
All good. Yes, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks. We'll see
All
you
right, you
soon.
all. I will see you in the week. So hang in there and have a good rest of your Sunday. Take care.